Has your dog ever done something that left you speechless? Something that seemed impossible, almost supernatural? If the answer is yes, you need to know this is no coincidence. In fact, you are witnessing the fulfillment of a prophecy made over 80 years ago by a man who could see the future while he slept. Edgar Cayce was known as the Sleeping Prophet because his most remarkable visions occurred during deep trances. Between 1901 and 1944, he made more than 14,000 documented predictions that came true with eerie accuracy. He predicted the Great Depression, both world wars, devastating earthquakes, and even the internet, decades before it existed. But there's one Cayce prophecy that remained almost forgotten for decades until now. A prophecy about dogs that is unfolding right now, in your home, in your neighborhood, all around the world. During his trances, Cayce didn't just see historical events. He had clear visions of how animals would evolve spiritually alongside humanity. And among all the species that appeared in his psychic readings, dogs held an absolutely special place. The four-legged guardians will awaken when the earth enters its new vibration, said Cayce during a session in 1943. They will become conscious bridges between the physical and spiritual worlds, disguised masters sent to teach humanity about unconditional love. Cayce described dogs as natural spiritual antennas, creatures capable of sensing energies, predicting events, and even healing through their mere presence. He saw that these animals possessed abilities humans had lost over the centuries, but that would be reactivated at a specific moment in history. What's most impressive is that Cayce was extremely precise about when this canine transformation would begin to happen. He predicted that the first signs would become evident when humanity faced major global challenges: pandemics, climate change, accelerated technological transformations, and a mass spiritual awakening. During one of his most intense visions, Cayce revealed 3 distinct waves of canine evolution. The first would be the ability to detect diseases and predict events before they happened. The second would involve direct telepathic communication with their owners. The third and most powerful would transform dogs into true energy cleansers, capable of neutralizing negative energies and facilitating emotional healing processes. When the talking machines connect all humans, said Cayce in 1944, clearly referring to the internet, the dogs will awaken to their true spiritual purpose. They will no longer be just pets. They will be conscious collaborators in the elevation of human consciousness. What makes this prophecy even more fascinating is that Cayce saw many of the dogs arriving in families during this awakening period as actually being evolved souls who chose to incarnate as animals to help in humanity's transformation. Beings of light disguised as household pets. But here's the crucial point. Cayce wasn't talking about a distant future. He was describing exactly what is happening now, at this very moment. The signs he predicted 8 decades ago are manifesting rapidly all around us. Dogs detecting cancer before doctors. Pets comforting their owners exactly when they need it most, even from a distance. Animals that seem to cleanse environments of heavy energies. Cases of near telepathic communication between dogs and humans. None of this is coincidence. It's the manifestation of a prophecy unfolding before our very eyes. The question remains, are you ready to recognize that your dog might be much more than you imagine? Because after learning what Cayce really saw about the future of dogs, you will never look at your 4-legged companion the same way again. The canine awakening has begun. And if you pay attention, it's probably already happening in your own home. In 1944, during one of his last and most intense psychic reading sessions, Edgar Cayce had a vision that left everyone present in absolute silence. His voice, already transformed by the deep trance, began to describe images of a future where dogs would take on an entirely new role in human society. "I see the four-legged guardians awakening," Cayce said with an intensity that gave everyone in the room chills. "When the Earth enters its new vibrational frequency, dogs will become conscious bridges between the worlds. They will not just be pets, they will be disguised masters, sent to teach humanity about unconditional love and spiritual connection." The specific prophecy Cayce received that day revealed 3 distinct waves of canine awakening. The first wave would happen as humanity began to spiritually awaken en masse, something he placed in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. During this phase, dogs would develop energetic healing abilities and be able to detect diseases even before doctors. The second wave would be even more impressive. Cayce saw dogs establishing direct telepathic communication with their owners, responding to thoughts before words were even spoken. They would begin to show up exactly when their humans needed emotional support the most, as if guided by a higher intelligence. The third and most powerful wave would reveal dogs acting as true energy cleansers. They would be able to neutralize negative energies in homes, hospitals, and even in people going through deep trauma. Cayce described this ability as emotional alchemy, the capacity to transform pain into healing through their mere presence. But what made this prophecy even more intriguing was the historical context in which it was received. We're talking about 1944, in the midst of World War II, when dogs were primarily seen as working or protection animals. The idea that these animals could have spiritual or therapeutic roles was considered absurd by the science of the time. The prophet was even more specific in describing the types of dogs that would be most affected by this transformation. He saw that both purebred and mixed-breed dogs would manifest these abilities, but that rescued or adopted animals would have an even stronger connection to their spiritual purposes. It was as if the very act of being saved connected them to a higher mission. During that same session, Cayce made a revelation that left everyone stunned. He said that many of the dogs arriving in families during this awakening time would actually be evolved souls who chose to incarnate as animals to assist in the transformation of human consciousness. They were beings of light disguised as household pets. The prophecy also included an important warning. Cayce saw that not all humans would be ready to recognize these changes in their dogs. Many would interpret special behaviors as simple coincidences or animal instinct. But those who were spiritually awakened would be able to form extraordinary partnerships with their canine companions. The most impressive aspect of Cayce's prophecy was his precision about the exact moment when all this would start happening. He predicted that the first signs would become evident when humanity faced major global challenges: pandemics, climate change, and accelerated technological transformations. Exactly what we are experiencing now. If you have a dog at home, you've probably already noticed subtle changes in their behavior in recent years. Maybe they've started following you more, getting restless before you get home from work, or showing heightened sensitivity to environments and people. These aren't isolated behaviors, they are the first signs of Cayce's prophecy, manifesting right before our eyes. Veterinarians around the world began reporting an intriguing phenomenon starting in the 2000s. Dogs that had always been calm began to show levels of intuition that defy any traditional scientific explanation. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, a behavioral veterinarian, documented more than 300 cases of dogs who developed what he calls emotional hypersensitivity, the ability to detect changes in their owner's mental state even before they physically manifest. One of the most impressive cases happened with Elizabeth Santos, 45, from New Jersey. Her dog Bobby, a 6-year-old golden retriever, began to show strange behavior every time she got ready to leave the house for work. He would literally block the door, cry, and refuse to move out of the way. Maria thought it was just stubbornness until she realized Bobby only did this on days when she was most stressed or about to have problems at work. "It was as if he knew I needed to stay home and take care of myself," says Elizabeth. "On the days he insisted I not leave, something important always happened that made me rethink my priorities. That's when I understood Bobby wasn't being stubborn, he was protecting me. But the signs go far beyond basic emotional sensitivity. Researchers at Duke University in the United States began documenting cases of dogs developing the ability to detect diseases with astonishing accuracy. We're not just talking about cancer, which was already known, but conditions like diabetes, epilepsy, and even deep depression. The case of Luna, a 4-year-old Labrador, made international headlines when she began obsessively sniffing her owner Joao's left arm for 3 consecutive weeks. Joao ignored the behavior until Luna started barking and scratching at the same spot. Worried, he saw a doctor and discovered a small tumor that had not yet been detected in routine exams. The tumor was exactly where Luna had been sniffing. Animal shelters also began noticing significant changes. Dogs once considered hard to adopt started showing an instant connection with specific people visiting the shelters. It was as if they knew exactly which human needed their companionship at that moment. Ana Claudia Ferreira, a shelter coordinator, said, "We started to notice that the dogs were choosing their owners, not the other way around. They approached people who were going through difficult times, divorces, family losses, illness. It was as if they had a radar for detecting who needed unconditional love the most." Another striking sign was the exponential increase in certified therapy dogs around the world. Between 2010 and 2020, the number of dogs trained for emotional therapy grew by more than 400% globally. But what caught specialists' attention was that many of these dogs began to demonstrate therapeutic abilities naturally, even before undergoing any formal training. Hospitals reported cases of visiting dogs who could identify patients most in need of companionship. They would ignore people who were doing fine and go directly to the beds of patients facing critical recovery moments. Nurses began using this canine intuition as an additional indicator to identify patients who needed special attention. Animal behavior research centers documented that dogs began reacting to storms, earthquakes, and other natural events with increasing advance notice. Whereas before they showed restlessness hours before seismic events, now some dogs alert their owners up to 2 days in advance. The most intriguing aspect of these early signs is their universality. It doesn't matter the breed, age, or background of the dog's special abilities are emerging in all types of animals. From poodles in apartments to mutts on rural farms, all seem to be waking up to abilities that had been dormant. Most impressively, this was just the beginning. The signs we started noticing in the 2000s were only the first wave of the prophecy. What would come next would be even more extraordinary. Imagine coming home after a terrible day and feeling all the heavy energy simply disappear the moment your dog comes near you. This is not a coincidence or imagination. It's the manifestation of a skill that dogs are rapidly developing, the ability to function as true energetic purifiers. Doctor Rupert Sheldrake, a biologist and researcher of unexplained phenomena, spent more than a decade documenting cases of dogs who demonstrate abilities far beyond what traditional science can explain. His studies revealed that dogs around the world are developing an extraordinary sensitivity to detect and neutralize negative energies in environments and people. The most documented case happened with the Thompson family in England. After moving into an old house, all family members began experiencing nightmares, insomnia, and a constant sense of unease. Max, the family's German shepherd, began to show peculiar behavior. He would walk through the house every night, stopping at specific points where he'd stand still for long minutes, as if he were working on something invisible. Max did a kind of ritual, says Sarah Thompson. He would breathe deeply in certain corners of the house, sometimes whine softly, and then shake his whole body as if shaking something off. After his rounds, we all slept better. The family decided to hire an energy specialist to evaluate the house. The professional confirmed there were several residual energy charges in the home, exactly in the spots where Max made his nightly stops. After a few weeks of the canine ritual, both the specialist and the family confirmed that the energy in the house had completely transformed. Hospitals and clinics around the world also began noticing similar phenomena with therapy dogs. Nurses reported that certain dogs could identify rooms with heavy energy and refused to enter until the space had been spiritually cleared. When they finally did enter, the patients in those rooms showed significant improvements in their emotional and even physical state. Holistic therapists have begun working in partnership with special dogs to enhance their treatments. During energy cleansing sessions, some dogs have demonstrated the ability to absorb negative energies released by clients and then discharge those energies through yawning, trembling, or even running in circles. Esther, a Reiki therapist, has worked for 3 years with her dog Isis during sessions. Isis always positions herself at the client's feet during the treatment. When we reach deep traumas or emotional blockages, she literally trembles as if processing that negative energy. Then she leaves, shakes herself, drinks water, and comes back completely renewed. Homes that have experienced traumatic events, deaths, separations, family arguments, have reported that their dogs began displaying spontaneous energy cleansing behaviors. They would walk around the house systematically, stop in specific places where arguments had occurred, and then lie down for long periods, as if they were absorbing and transmuting the residual energies. Some dogs have developed the ability to neutralize negative energy through touch. Reports of people feeling instantly calmer after being touched by certain dogs have multiplied exponentially in recent years. It's not a typical touch, it feels like a conscious energy transfer. The case of Amendoim, a mutt adopted by Ferdinand, perfectly exemplifies this evolution. Whenever someone arrived at his house, feeling stressed or sad, Amendoim would approach and place his paw on the person for a few minutes. Everyone reported an immediate sense of relief and tranquility. Amendoim seems to have an internal sensor for detecting who needs positive energy, says Ferdinand. He's never wrong. And what's most impressive is that after his treatments, people leave visibly lighter and renewed. Canine spiritual evolution isn't limited to energy cleansing. Many dogs are developing the ability to protect their homes and families from negative external influences. They can detect when people with bad intentions approach and create a sort of energetic shield around the house. Social media explodes daily with videos of dogs doing things that seem impossible. Dogs appearing out of nowhere to save children from accidents. Pets waking up entire families seconds before fires. Animals locating missing people in situations that defy all logic. These aren't isolated cases. They are manifestations of the third wave of Cayce's prophecy intensifying around us. The case that gained global attention happened in March 2023 in a small town in the interior of Minas Gerais. Bela, an 8-month-old mutt, began barking desperately in the middle of the night and scratching at her owner's bedroom door. The family woke up annoyed, thinking she needed to go outside. But Bella ran directly to the 6-month-old baby's room and kept barking. When the parents reached the crib, they found the baby in apnea, completely purple. Doctors confirmed that without Bela's intervention, the child would not have survived. What's most impressive is that Bela had never shown any protective behavior before this episode. It was as if she had awakened to her guardian mission at the exact moment she was needed. Tell me in the comments, has your dog ever done something that left you speechless? Some kind of inexplicable rescue or protection? Dr. James Serpell, director of the Center for the Interaction of Animals and Society at the University of Pennsylvania, has been collecting similar accounts for over 5 years. His research documents more than 1,200 cases of dogs saving human lives in ways science still cannot fully explain. What we're observing goes far beyond traditional protective instinct, explains Dr. Serpell. These dogs exhibit a precognitive ability. They know something is going to happen before any physical signs appear. It's as if they have access to information they shouldn't have. The phenomenon intensifies even more when we observe dogs that save complete strangers. In October 2023, Thor, a German shepherd, escaped from home and ran 3 blocks to a construction site. There, he began barking incessantly at a group of workers, preventing them from entering a specific area. 20 minutes later, exactly where Thor didn't let them go, a concrete structure collapsed. Thor had never left the house alone, his owner said, and there was no apparent reason for him to know about the danger at the site. It was like he had been given a specific mission at that moment. Before we continue, I want to invite you to the Quantum Thinking Challenge, a 21-day program where you'll reprogram your mind, raise your vibration, and unlock your full energetic potential. For 3 weeks, you'll have daily practices to transform your frequency and start attracting everything you desire. Access it in the first pinned comment. Now just imagine, you're thinking about coming home and your dog is already waiting at the door, even though you're miles away and without a set schedule. Or, your pet appears next to you exactly when you're feeling sad, without you showing any external signs. This is not imagination. It's real telepathic communication happening between you and your dog, Doctor. Rupert Sheldrake conducted the most comprehensive study ever done on animal telepathy. Over 10 years, he documented more than 4,000 cases of dogs that demonstrated the ability to read their owner's thoughts and intentions from a distance. The results were so impressive that they completely challenged our understanding of animal communication. Sheldrake's most famous experiment involved JT, a fox terrier who always knew when his owner, Pam Smart, was coming home. What's remarkable is that Pam worked irregular hours and used different modes of transportation each day. Cameras installed in the house showed that JT began displaying restlessness and positioned himself at the window exactly when Pam decided to return home. Not when she left work, but when the thought of returning home formed in her mind. We tested JT for 2 consecutive years, explained Sheldrake. It didn't matter whether Pam returned by car, bus, train, or on foot. It didn't matter if she left earlier or later. JT always knew the exact moment she formed the intention to come home. Telepathic communication is not limited to detecting emotional states. Dogs are demonstrating the ability to respond to specific mental commands. Sarah Johnson, a dog trainer in Los Angeles, developed an experimental protocol to test this ability. I started by asking owners to only think about specific commands while looking at their dogs, says Sarah. The results were astonishing. Dogs obeyed mental commands like sit, come here, and lie down, with a 78% success rate. The most fascinating aspect of canine telepathy is its ability to transcend physical distance. American military personnel have documented cases of dogs reacting to dangers faced by their soldier owners in combat zones thousands of miles away. Corporal James Mitchell, an Iraq War veteran, reports that his dog Princess, who stayed in the U.S. during his deployment, would always become agitated and cry on the same days he was involved in intense combat. My wife started noting the days Princess was inconsolable. When I came back and compared it with my mission diary, the synchronization was perfect. Researchers at Duke University are studying the neurological mechanisms behind this telepathic communication. Through simultaneous MRI scans of dogs and humans, they've discovered brain synchronization patterns suggesting a form of non-local communication between species. We observed brain waves synchronizing between dogs and their owners even when they were in separate rooms, explains Dr. Michael Chen, the neuroscientist leading the study. It's as if there's a shared frequency allowing the exchange of information without any physical communication channel. Telepathic communication also manifests through shared dreams. Hundreds of people report dreams where their dogs appear with specific messages or alerts about real-life situations. Have you ever wondered why all these canine transformations are happening right now? Why dogs around the world are simultaneously awakening to abilities that seemed impossible just 2 decades ago? The answer is connected to something much greater than we imagine: a planetary vibrational elevation that Edgar Cayce predicted with uncanny accuracy. According to Cayce's readings, Earth would enter a new evolutionary phase in the early 21st century, marked by an acceleration of collective human consciousness. He described this period as the time of the Great Awakening, when both humans and animals would develop dormant spiritual abilities to navigate the intense transformations of this planetary transition. When humanity faces its greatest challenges, said Cayce in 1943, the four-legged guardians will awaken to guide and protect during the passage into the new Earth. They will serve as beacons of unconditional love in times of turbulence. Dr. David Hawkins, a psychiatrist and researcher of consciousness levels, developed a scale that measures the collective energetic vibration of humanity. His studies show that since the year 2000, human consciousness has been undergoing an unprecedented acceleration, leaping from levels of survival to spiritual awakening at a pace that would normally take centuries. We are witnessing a real-time evolution of consciousness, explains Dr. Hawkins. And animals, especially dogs, are responding to this vibrational rise by developing abilities that connect them more deeply with the human experience. The temporal synchronicity is impossible to ignore. The first intense manifestations of special canine abilities began to be massively documented starting in 2001, exactly when humanity experienced one of the greatest collective shocks in modern history. It was as if dogs had received a cosmic activator to begin their spiritual support mission. Researchers at the HeartMath Institute discovered that major traumatic global events generate measurable electromagnetic waves that affect the planet's energetic field. These waves not only influence human behavior but also activate evolutionary responses in domesticated animals, especially those with deep emotional bonds to humans. Dogs function as living antennas for these planetary energetic changes, explains Dr. Roland McCready, Director of Research at HeartMath. They are responding to frequencies we humans are only beginning to understand scientifically. The 2020 pandemic marked another crucial milestone in the canine awakening. Veterinary reports worldwide documented an explosion of anomalous behaviors in dogs during lockdowns. Animals that had never shown special sensitivity began displaying emotional detection abilities, energy healing, and even premonition. It was as if the collective emotional intensity of the pandemic activated something dormant in dogs, says Dr. Sandra Molina, a behavioral veterinarian from Madrid. In 2 years, I received more reports of psychic canine behaviors than in my entire previous career. The phenomenon isn't limited to traumatic events. Global celebrations, collective meditations, and mass spiritual movements also generate energetic waves that amplify canine abilities. During solar eclipses, supermoons, and other significant astronomical events, animal research centers document spikes in telepathic activity and healing behaviors in dogs worldwide. Quantum physicists have begun theorizing that dogs may be accessing what they call the collective morphogenetic field, a non-local information network connecting all living consciousness on the planet. As humanity raises its vibration through crises, growth, and spiritual awakening, dogs automatically tune in to these higher frequencies. Dogs have always been sensitive to subtle energy fields, explains Dr. Amit Goswami, quantum physicist and author of The Self-Aware Universe. But now, as human consciousness expands, they are accessing levels of quantum information that allow them to function as bridges between dimensions of reality. The digital age also plays a crucial role in this awakening. The same technology that instantly connects billions of human minds is creating a planetary electromagnetic field that amplifies dogs' natural psychic sensitivity. They are literally picking up the waves of information circulating through global communication networks. Spiritual centers around the world report that their resident dogs have begun displaying special behaviors synchronized with global meditations and collective prayer movements. During events like Earth Day, solstice celebrations, and global peace campaigns, these animals spontaneously enter deep meditative states. Our dogs become living barometers of the rise in planetary consciousness, says Lama Tenzin from the Buddhist Center in Brasilia. When humanity unites in positive intention, our canine companions respond immediately, radiating a peace that further amplifies the collective energy. Astrologers and scholars of cosmic cycles point out that we are living in what many ancient traditions called the era of transition, a period when planetary consciousness undergoes a fundamental transformation. Dogs, as beings naturally attuned to cosmic rhythms, are serving as catalysts and facilitators of this transition. Dogs are the first to catch the new frequencies arriving on the planet, explains Maria Helena Ramallo, astrologer and researcher of cosmic cycles. They are showing us what the next phase of conscious evolution will be like: more telepathic, more empathetic, more energetically connected. The climate urgency and global environmental challenges have also activated in dogs a kind of collective preservation instinct. They seem to understand, on a deep level, that their spiritual evolution is directly connected to the survival and evolution of human consciousness. Evolutionary biologists suggest we are witnessing what they call accelerated symbiotic evolution, where two species evolve rapidly in response to extreme environmental pressures, developing traits that mutually benefit their survival. Dogs are evolving to become our conscious partners in navigating the planetary challenges we face, explains Dr. Lynn Margulis, evolutionary biologist. They are developing exactly the skills we need: intuition, healing, early problem detection, emotional support to make it through this critical time in human history. The canine awakening is not an isolated phenomenon. It is part of a greater cosmic orchestration preparing both humans and animals for a new phase of planetary existence. Dogs have consciously chosen to assume the role of guides, healers, and protectors during this crucial transition. This explains why so many pet owners report the feeling that their dogs chose them, arrived with a specific mission, or are much more than just pets. Because they truly are. They are conscious collaborators in one of the greatest transformations Earth consciousness has ever experienced. Edgar Cayce's prophecy was not just about the future, it was a preparation manual for a reality that has already arrived. Right now, as you read these words, millions of dogs around the world are operating as conscious bridges between dimensions, energetic healers, and spiritual guardians of humanity. The question is no longer, will this happen? It's, how will you prepare for this new reality? If you have a dog at home, you need to understand that they may be much more than you imagine. Recent statistics show that 73% of domestic dogs exhibit at least one special ability that their owners initially attribute to coincidence. Learning to recognize and nurture these abilities can completely transform your relationship and open portals of communication you never thought possible. The first step is to observe patterns in your dog's behavior that go beyond common instinct. Does your dog appear by your side exactly when you're sad, even if in another room? Get restless before unexpected visitors arrive? Show special interest in certain parts of your body that later turn out to be areas of tension or health issues? These aren't random behaviors. They are manifestations of spiritual abilities in development. Dr. Patricia Goodman, an expert in animal communication, developed a simple protocol for identifying dogs with special abilities. Watch if your dog responds to your thoughts before you say them out loud. Try mentally calling them from another room. Monitor if they react to your emotions, even when you try to hide them. These are clear indicators of active telepathic communication. To nurture these abilities, establish daily moments of conscious connection with your dog. Sit in silence with them for 10-15 minutes, make gentle eye contact, and mentally send thoughts of gratitude and love. Many owners report that this simple practice dramatically enhances telepathic communication with their pets. For those who don't yet have a dog, Be prepared to recognize when a special animal crosses your path. Dogs with specific spiritual missions often choose their human families through impressive synchronicities. They appear exactly when you need them most, demonstrate an instant and undeniable connection, or arrive through circumstances that feel like fate. Entirely new professions are emerging to support this new reality. Animal communicators, human-canine connection facilitators, telepathic skill trainers, and therapists working with human-dog pairs are becoming increasingly in demand. Technology is also adapting. Apps that monitor energetic synchronization between humans and dogs, devices that measure electromagnetic fields in environments with special pets, and platforms that connect owners of dogs with similar abilities are revolutionizing our understanding of this evolutionary partnership. Your dog may be one of the disguised masters Cayce saw in his visions. And you may be one of the people chosen to be part of this transformation that is redefining what it means to be human on a planet where consciousness is evolving exponentially.